Okay, for the lighting and rendering scene, we're going to use this render button. So just clicking render shows us what the scene looks like as it is, just with 3 cubes and a plane. So if you get your drawing to include 3 cubes and a plane or something similar that you would like to render, then we will start to add some lights to the scene. So I'm just going to click to the 4 viewports and frame scene. This allows us to look at the whole scene from every different angle and see where the lights are actually going. So to add a light in the scene, you'll see that it's all gone dark and the light is on the middle of the scene, so it needs to be lifted and moved over into place. So when lighting a scene, it's quite important that you add a couple of light sources. So highlight it and do a copy and paste. This is similar to how you light things in a photographic studio. Often you may need more. So just looking around, you can see that the 2 lights are to either side of the scene that I'm lighting. So what we need to do now is just have a look and see how that renders. Okay, so it really hasn't done a lot to the render. Still looks fairly basic. So if we select one of the lights and add a shadow, go to the general shadow, and we'll do a shadow maps, which is a fairly soft shadow but not very detailed, looks fairly computer generated. So if we go to a shadow area, you'll see the rectangle around that. If we change that to a cube, that gives the shadow a volume that it's created from, so like a 3-dimensional volume. So change it to cube, and you can see the cube around the light that the shadow will be cast from. So this gives it a softer shadow. So the bigger the cube, the softer the shadow. If you make it a very small point of light, it will be a sharp shadow. Similar to how if you use a spotlight or even the sun, which is a very sharp point of light. This is almost like diffusing the light through a cloud. Okay, so let's have a look how that renders. So you can see the softer shadows, they're also quite dark, and this is to do with the background as well. So let's have a look at changing the actual global illumination, which is the light that bounces around the scene. So you can turn this on in the render settings, which is the right hand of the 3 clapperboards, and close that up. So then click the left hand of the 3 clapperboards to see what this has done. You can see it's analysing the scene and adding the global illumination. Now that's picking up quite a lot of the black of the background, so it's becoming more natural. You can see that the light is bouncing off those objects. So if we add a sky, which is white, and do another render, the sky just adds into the menu on the left. You can see how it makes it very bleached because it's using the white of the sky to bounce the light around. So the best way to manage this is to actually change the brightness of the lights in your scene. So go to the lights, the general settings, and change the intensity, which is almost like a dimmer switch, and turn that down, and the same for the other. So click the light, go to the intensity, and take it down. The scene might look quite dark, but if you imagine you're duplicating the light around a scene a number of times with the global illumination, so let's just take a different view and do another render. These cubes are actually white, so maybe it's best to try changing them to a different colour. So as in the other tutorials, making a material, we'll just quickly make up a new material with a darker colour. So double click and go to the colour and double click that and just bring it down to a grey. And we'll apply this to the 3 cubes. So this just shows us how the colour affects the global illumination, the lighting, colour of the objects. So now we're going to go to that render menu on the right hand side, so that this is where we selected the global illumination, so the right hand side clapperboard, and we're going to output, so click that, bring up the render settings, and basically if you want to save the render as a JPEG, you have to tell it what resolution and what file and a file name. So here I'm just typing the resolution I want it to be. This is quite small, so it's quite quick. And then we go to the next one down, which is save, and that tells us the path, and the path is basically creating a file. So you just call it render1, save that, and tell it what type of file you want. So you want to save it as a JPEG. So once you've done that, every time you click the middle clapperboard, it will save the file to that path. And this, yeah, the global illumination is on. So we'll turn that off. So if we look now at the middle clapperboard and render to picture viewer, so that's going to render it to the path that we just created. It's going to render it to the file as a file. So you can see it's brought it up in a separate window. It's got the time, the zoom that you're viewing it at, the resolution, type of file. So what we need to do is then find this file on the desktop, and that will be a usable file. So it'll be a JPEG, and we can take that into Photoshop and edit it from there, add things into the scene, and do general post-production, cleaning up, adding in, bringing other elements into the drawings and the renders. Okay, so here's the file. So if we double click it, there it is, simple JPEG file